Hey, you potted than hell junkies. This is Carl Canedy from the Rods in Canedy. You're listening to the Potter Than Hell podcast with the metal encyclopedias themselves, Steve, BC, BB, and Dylan on the keyboards. Crank it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hello, Potter Than Hellions. Welcome back to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is Steve, your host. I am joined this week only by
Dylan.
He will be your keyboard player as well this evening. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good out there, having enjoying your the beginning of summer. I guess not officially summer yet, but we are finally having some good days in a row here in Pennsylvania, and we have a little different kind of episode here for you this week. Dylan and I went over to one of our friends' house, Mr. Carl Canedy, and we met with him, and we interviewed him and his awesome band, Canedy. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then we spoke with the new singer of the Rods, which is actually the same singer for Carl's solo band, and we'll get all into that in a little bit. But before we do, I want to say thanks to Mark Hoover for joining us last week on the Jackal episode. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Always great listening to Jackal. How'd you like? I know you didn't participate, Dylan, but how'd you like how we did?
Good. I think it's cool to spotlight a band that isn't as radio friendly, I'll say. So we get to spotlight them in another way. Plus, it was cool, including the interview that BB and Mark Hoover did with the lead singer of Jackal,
Jesse James Dupree,
which was really, really awesome that we were able to incorporate that into the episode as well.
Yeah, it was cool, and it was funny because BB actually recorded that interview with Mark and Jesse here at my house. He actually did it during his lunch at work. He came up, I had everything set up, and he recorded while we were at my house here during the middle of the day. And it was really cool of Jesse to to come on and hang out with these guys for a little bit. And so make sure you check out his song "It Didn't Fall from the Sky." It's on all the streaming things you could get: Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, and also check out the video for it on YouTube as well. It's actually pretty cool. It's a tribute to the truckers out there that, hey, during this pandemic and all this bullshit going on, these guys are the ones that are keeping these stores going. Just delivering shit all the time, and hats off to those guys. And once again, thanks Mark for hooking us up with that, and thanks Jesse James Dupree for hanging out with us. And it was cool, and it was funny too because when BB was recording that, he had the headphones on, so I could only hear like his questions, what he was asking, and I didn't actually listen to the interview until Dylan put it in the episode, and it was really cool. It was cool that he got to talk about the us guys testing our chainsaws, trying to do the chainsaw solo at the firehouse whenever we test our saws down there, and it's actually pretty cool. Like I said, I stall it out when I try to do the break part of it. So thanks guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and thanks everybody for hanging out with us. And before we get into the interview portion of the episode, we're going to let's just do a real quick. What do we listen to, Dylan? Now, what do you got going?
Today I was checking out a little Motorhead. I decided to put on the Overkill album. Start from the semi-beginning. I skipped the first album because I didn't really know any of the songs on the album. Though that's not a really good reason to skip an album. I'll probably go back to it, but I don't know. I was just feeling in the Motorhead mood and haven't listened to them in a while. And Carl actually mentions his experiences with Lemmy later on in the episode. So I don't know. Maybe that spurred it on. That got me in that mood. But Motorhead Overkill, good album.
Yeah. So it was cool because you definitely want to hang out through this whole episode because Carl really dishes out some cool stories and throws out a lot of cool people he hung out with and got to meet and everything throughout the years with the Rods. Overkill, great album. That was the double bass in the beginning of that. That was just Phil, filthy Phil, right?
Yeah.
Warming up at in a practice session. He was like, "Well, keep playing that. What is that? Keep playing that." And then they built a song around the drum beat in the beginning of it. Great breakthrough, their semi-breakthrough album, I think. I think Ace of Spades after that was like the main one.
That was the
This was the one that kind of got them on the road to the Ace of Spades era, definitely.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to, Actually listening to some, which I usually don't do, because I'm usually more of a Dio, Tony Martin, Sabbath guy, but I've been digging a little deeper into the original Sabbath catalog. You know, Ozzy, Bill Ward, Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, and solely because I started listening to the what the hell is it called? It's called Sabbath Bloody Podcast. It's a podcast that goes through all of the Black Sabbath albums. So I started at the beginning, and I mean, there's some cool stuff out there. And you know, the reason I usually go to the Dio stuff is because that's pretty much where I started in mostly. Like, I had We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll, but then when I heard Neon Nights on Heaven and Hell, it was more of the time frame of what I was listening to at that time. But then delving back into the Ozzy stuff, like today I just listened to the first album in Paranoid, and I got maybe halfway through Sabbath Bloody Sabbath today, and there's some really cool stuff on there. And that's shit, Dylan, you got to listen to with your headphones on, because there's a lot of... I mean, you got to figure, these albums were recorded, like, 1970, I think, were the first two albums, and then 71, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath came out. So, you know, that's over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, these songs, they're, you know, when they were still playing, and if Ozzy, you know, was still playing now, and I mean, no one's playing now, they would still be playing some of these songs. So, I mean, this material holds up, and it holds up for a reason, because it's fucking kick-ass.
It's covered by countless bands.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And you know, you can't count how many people that these guys have influenced. And I am still on my Iron Maiden Somewhere in Time album kick. Come out in 1986. I probably listened to that album probably at least 10 times in the last week.
Wow.
And I haven't been skipping Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner every time. Maybe every other time I'll skip it. But it's grown on me a little bit. Not to where I'll ever say I like it, but it's getting a little more tolerable. But just a great album. And since we did that Epic Maiden episode, I've just been rocking the shit out of that album, because it's fucking excellent. And I was a senior in high school that year too when that came out. So that's what we're listening to. Dylan's got a little Motorhead, Overkill. I have some classic Sabbath, Ozzy Sabbath, and Iron Maiden Somewhere in Time. So let's talk real quick about our interview that is coming up right after I get done talking here. We got to sit down with Carl Canedy. We actually went over to his house. Carl, once again, thank you. He got pizza for us. We kind of hung out and had a little pizza. Then we got on the phone with his band. Mike Santasiero is the vocalist. Charlie Russello is the guitar player. Tony Garuba on bass, cello, and vocals. And then Carl on drums, naturally. Just a great band. They come out with the album Warrior. It came out in May. It's available on all streaming services. And you can get on the CanedyBand.com. And you can pre-order the CD and vinyl as well. So, you know, definitely get out there, support these guys, order a CD, order vinyl. I have mine ordered for sure. It was a cool conversation, don't you think, Dylan?
Yeah, really awesome insight into the making of the album and how it's more of a band album than Carl's previous solo album that came out a couple of years back. It was really cool hearing all these guys talk about their experiences, because actually the three guys that are now part of Carl's band, they were in a band with each other before they joined up with Carl. So that was really cool to hear. I wasn't aware of that.
Right, those guys have been playing together for years, and it does. It really, I like Carl's first solo album. It's really good, but it's not. It doesn't feel like a band album, because there are different. I mean, he's got some cool guests on there. Chris Caffrey plays on there. Mark Tornell plays on there. And he's got some good guests on there, but it's not a cohesive band album.
The way I kind of liken it to Slash's solo album versus Apocalyptic Love, whereas Apocalyptic Love is more of the band album. It's cohesive, and the first album is all the guests get different people. Both good albums, but different. Yeah,
absolutely. And so definitely check that out, Warrior. And the first portion here is a little short because Tony and Charlie, they have jobs, so they have to get up really early, so they were only able to be on for a certain time with us. So in the audio, we had a little audio problem in the beginning there. Some of the parts, because we had to record those guys over the phone instead of on Skype, so it got a little, the sound is not the greatest, but it's definitely listenable. So, and I do want to apologize to Tony Garuba. I meant to ask him, he sings one song on this album called Hell Ride, and it's freaking excellent, because we were listening to it, me and BC, like, who the hell's singing that? We know it wasn't Mike singing, but we weren't sure who it was. but it's Tony, and it's a really good song. So, Dylan, play that interview. All right, guys, we are here with Carl Canedy and the Canedy Band. Is that what we're calling it, Carl?
Canedy Band. Yeah, it's a band. So
okay, so let's let me introduce everybody here. Actually, why don't you guys introduce yourself? Let's start with Mike.
Mike Santasiero from the Scranton area most of my life. Currently from Moscow.
All right. How about Tony?
Tony Garuba, Pittston. Been here basically all my life.
And Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Russello, Scranton area most of my life. Now in the Park Summit area. I'm the guitarist in the group.
Oh, and me, Carl.
I'm waking up Carl here.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm just drummer in the band.
All right, so I'll tell you what, you guys put out an awesome album. It's called Warrior. It just came out at the beginning of May. But let's get into how this took place. This is Carl's really second, if you want to call it a solo album, but this is more of a band project than a solo effort. But
Definitely a band.
I know I know Carl plays with Tony and you play with Charlie too, right? And
no, Charlie's not in Jeffrey James.
Jeffrey just with Tony and the Jeffrey James Band. Mm-hmm. Great local classic rock band. I mean, these guys play everything, just excellent. And just before we get into it, I just want to say, listening to this album, you could definitely tell that Carl and Tony are locked in. You could tell these guys have played together because the bottom end of this album is just so locked in. And when I was going through the songs, listening to it today, I'm like, holy shit, these guys are just absolutely locked in together. So why don't you guys, I don't know who you want to go first to get how this took
doesn't matter to me. I just want to say, though, that Tony and I really carry the Jeffrey James Band. I just wanted to throw that out there.
We have to. We're at the bottom, lifting everything up.
Yeah, you have to have a foundation before you can build a house.
Absolutely. How it got started really quick was me, Charlie, and Mike were in a band called TLC. We were going to do a TV appearance. Our drummer basically bailed on us that week. And I knew Carl would, be able to do, anything like that. So Carl, said he would do it. And one thing led to another, and here comes the album. But it's funny because when Carl put out his first album, I said to Carl, and I don't know if you remember this, Carl, I said, it would have been so much more cohesive if it was just the same 3 or 4 musicians. Because I think Carl used a bunch of different musicians.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The songs are good. It's just you could hear the difference in guitar tones and bass tones and, and it's and vocals as opposed to a band. And, a few years later, that's what we got.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. And Carl actually let me preview the album a couple months earlier, and I was blown away. I didn't know what to expect because I knew the first album that he put out, and it was really good. But it does, and I agree with you. It does have that kind of looseness where it doesn't, it sounds like just a bunch of songs as opposed to like a band effort. And I really like that about this. Like when Carl first sent me the MP3s of this, I was like, holy shit. And I was listening to them at work, and so I couldn't really crank them or anything, but just listening to them on the speaker on my phone, I was like, holy shit, I can't wait to get home and throw my headphones on. But it was just so cool to hear those songs and get, just a new metal album, because there's not a lot of stuff coming out these days. And who was the main writer of these songs? Did everybody contribute to everything, or how did the songs formulate here?
The songs generally, each song kind of arises in its own way. Like Charlie will bring a riff, or Tony will bring a riff, a central theme to build a song around. Because I'm less of a musician and more of a singer, I might show up with most of a song written, but when you have 3 other guys rip it apart and put it back together, rebuild it, it's a whole new, it's something you don't imagine going into. I mean, there are a lot of people that write songs, but when the rest of the band can get together and put their own parts together, it winds up being a totally unique creation when you're done with it. I just can't believe how much a song that I thought was pretty much written start to finish, changes, and the band puts its own stamp on it. None of us individually could have come up with that song, and that's the band feel, and that's what makes it. It's some neat alchemy going on there.
Yeah, I like it. The songs are very cohesive, and Mike, your vocals are fantastic. I was, when we saw you guys, I don't know if you were on when I was talking before with Tony. Me and my buddy had come up when you guys played in Binghamton, and you guys did the show up there, which was fantastic. And Carl, I apologize again for fucking up your video.
You didn't. It was fine.
And but like we were like, holy shit! Like where has this guy been? Like why have I not heard Mike in a like on an album before? I was just like totally blown away. And just watching you guys play live, it was like you guys had been playing for years together. It was just it was amazing, and I thought it was kind of cool at the end when you guys were done. You pretty much played the whole album, and like people are like come on, play something else, and then you guys played another thing coming from Judas Priest. Mm-hmm. I was like, holy shit, that was like so cool, and I was like so glad that we went up to check out that show. But it was very cool. How did you guys? Were you guys? I'm sure there was some kind of butterflies or something going on before you guys took to the stage, but it didn't show through once you guys started to play. And I think if I didn't know that you guys, this was your very first show together, I would be like, these guys have been friggin' rocking for years together.
I think I say this when I'm doing interviews that we started writing and we would try to get together as often as possible consistently. But over the period of a year and a half or so, we wound up with a really good album that we were proud of. But also we became a band because that's how you gel. You work together, and initially these three guys had worked together. And I was the odd man out. And so, we had to kind of learn each other's good and bad points and how to have some synergy. And once we got past it, it was like clear sailing, and I think it turned out great. So I was very happy. But I think we became a band in that writing process over a year and a half or more, 2 years period of time.
Yeah, it shows. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
To add to Carl's point, and a little band secret for you: 3 out of 4 guys have been playing together for 20 years. So it was great to have Carl join in, and the fire that he brings to the music with his drumming. And so Mike and Tony and I, we have been writing in the past together, and we have been playing a lot. So so when you saw us play together, we were very comfortable with each other up there,
Oh, you could definitely tell. You could definitely tell. And I just there's a lot of parts on the album that I'm listening to it, and I'm like, who do these remind me of? Like I'm hearing Queensryche in some of the songs. I'm hearing Black Sabbath in some of the songs. I'm even hearing a little Van Halen in some of the songs. It's just, but it's like, it's not like a mishmash. It's just like a little thing here and there, but it just feels it feels comfortable. It really does. And I like that because there's not, you guys know the musicscape out there now. There's not a whole lot of, new bands coming out and everything, but, I think the worst thing is that like you could not have had a kick-ass album like this at a worse time. Mm-hmm. I'm like just like, oh my god, like and I'm just so glad I at least got to see you guys once so far. But who knows what the landscape's going to be down the road playing live. But say we get back to going out and hopefully going to clubs and shows and stuff. You guys planning on doing that?
Absolutely, yeah. Whatever dates make sense, we want to play. And I'd love to have the band go to Europe as well, but even locally, we'll be doing some dates locally.
Well, if you go to Europe and you need a roadie,
okay.
I got a lot of vacation time saved up and sick days, so I could definitely hit. I'll carry your bass drum on my back. I don't give a shit. But you guys, I know from just talking with Carl, like I'll talk with Carl, maybe once a week or something like that. And I know he's getting a lot of interviews, and he said you and Mike and Carl did an interview today. And I just wanted to make sure we get everybody in the band because I'm not saying I don't like just talking to Carl, but I just kind of want to get a feel for everybody in the band and just how things came about. And when you guys recorded this album, were you recording live together or just one a bit here, a bit there?
Who wants to take that?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Tony, let me just say something about that. this was the most bizarre way that I've ever recorded. And not quite as long as Carl, but since like 1979, I did my first thing with Mad Dog, and I've never like recorded a track, given it to a drummer, then record a track, and then give it back to me. But like Carl is like the master of like doing. It's weird because when you we have certain skill set. The skill set we don't have, Carl has. Like he has the ear, he has the timing. You're this, you're that. I mean, I would never have been so tight. And I think Charlie would say the same thing. If it wasn't for Carl's like production, pre-production, I guess that would be Carl. Before we give it to before it's finalized. And that to me was just like, wow, we got this guy to finally be our ears in the other aspect that we don't have. And that's why, to me, when I listen to this album, I think, wow, it sounds really tight. And I just want to just touch on one other thing. When you say, like, the influence Black Sabbath, we do that on purpose. At the beginning of Live, there's a hi-hat thing, which is supposed to be an homage to Warped. At the end of it, there's a little bass thing that's an homage to Geezer and Geezer Butler. And if you hear Do It Now, you hear the Black Sabbath go, that's a direct rip-off, and we knew it was. We just wanted to do an homage to the actual masters of heavy metal.
Well, it worked because it as far as me listening to it, like I was like, boom, okay, Sabbath, like peppered throughout. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. People will listen to an album and go, oh, they're ripping off whatever. But you know what? Like, do you like the band that you think that they're ripping off? Yeah. Well, then what's the difference? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand like people's thinking like that sometimes. And I really like I like when bands, show their influences on their sleeve. I don't mind that at all. And, you're not rewriting Neon Nights or, War Pigs here. But if you can hear that influence in there, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
I think every musician loves to think that they're originators.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, we just thought it would be cool, to put something in that, traced it back to its roots.
Absolutely. And Charlie, there's a couple parts on this album that you do some like tremolo whammy bar stuff, if you want to call it that like throws me right to Brad Gillis. On Adia, there's a part like towards the end, I'm like, holy shit. And by the way, you guys, I absolutely love that song. I love this album. There's a lot of home runs on this album, but I think that song is a freaking grand slam. It's so melodic. And like Charlie, you got a Brad Gillis thing going at the end there. And until today, when I was listening to it again, I was like, what band does this song remind me of? Like, it's almost like a Night Ranger song. And then that part, that guitar part at the end, I was like, wow, that was it. But let's while I'm talking about songs, I need to let you guys talk more. I apologize. Let's talk about some songs. Tony, if you had to pick two songs off of this album, what would your two picks be?
I like The Prize and Do It Now. Those are like and when we played them, I loved them, but then when I hear the other ones, I like them too. But I just love The Prize because it's like odd, but it's really cool, but it's heavy in a different way, and I like that. And Do It Now is just that door. Carl comes blasting in with the drums and reach on mic. It's just it's just a real heavy type song.
Yeah, Do It Now has got a great breakdown in the song, and like the soloing's great, but like you guys are just like killing it, like on underneath that. It's just freaking great. Charlie, how about you? What two songs would you throw out there of your favorites here?
Well, first of all, let me say thanks for the compliment with Adia. Instead of throwing you a couple songs, let me tell you this, that all the songs contain all little things that I love about guitar playing. So, in the 80s, I grew up in the 80s learning that style of guitar playing, and, and to this day, I still love that style of guitar playing. So, that's why you hear the things that you do hear, and, and then, of course, going further back to Sabbath and the rest. So when we're playing and writing these songs, I want to entertain myself. So I try to use the little things that entertained me as I was learning and growing up, listening to music, the things that really, made my skin crawl with goosebumps. And those little whammy bar tricks or whatever it is that you're hearing on the various songs. So each one of these songs just has those little things here and there that are just, me having fun, enjoying the guitar parts. So I'm glad that's coming across, and I'm glad you're enjoying it too, because, we're there to have fun and have a good time, and hopefully the audience, accepts what we're doing, and we move forward from that,
Yeah, it's absolutely a fun listen. I think it's great. And Mike, what do you got for us song-wise?
Well, asking me to choose songs is like asking me to choose between my children. Seriously, when you're in the moment, when you're in the moment writing that song, you're so into that song that is your favorite song until you're off writing another song, and then to have to choose, between them at the end. So let me just say, the two songs that encapsulate for me what my happiness and my purpose of getting this band formed and these songs out there would have to be Warrior and Prize, because if you listen to the lyrics, they're actually analogous to the struggles that musicians go through just to be heard, especially when they thought their time had passed and they'll never get another whack at it, and then all of a sudden, they didn't give up and they're doing it again. So Warrior and the Prize encapsulate the emotion of the album, whereas other songs that I just deliberately wrote them to be commercial metal, they have their own merits, but they don't have the emotion behind them that those two do.
All right, very cool. And I think that the album is very cohesive. I think you guys have a great set of songs here, and I know we're getting down because I know Tony and Charlie have to hit the bricks here pretty soon. But I just want to throw it out there, guys. If you have anything else to say, how can people, can they get a hold of you on Facebook? Can they, friend you, and just let people know how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, sure. Of course, CanedyBand.com. They can come and preview the music or check out what we're doing. And we're all available on Facebook and the typical social media platforms. So and YouTube, our stuff is up on there too. So just search for Canedy, and Warrior is the name of the album, or Warrior is the name of the album. So we have that video out there right now. So that's a great place to start, and then from there, I'm sure it will just snowball into a variety of outlets that you can contact or experience our music from.
Yeah, and you guys, real quick before you go, I was speaking with Carl before we started recording here. You guys will be doing a live video, which would be this weekend, but by the time you guys are listening to this out there, listen to the podcast, it will already have happened. So any of you guys, just throw it out there. How do you guys come about this? And I think it's great because I love when bands are doing this, especially with what's going on now. So someone, if just for a quick scoop, anyone?
Well, I talk a lot in interviews, so I'll let these guys talk.
Sure.
How do we do it? Charlie, you better talk about that, man. I don't know how we're doing it. He's going to show up and... Well, I think... Yeah, no, I mean, listen, performing it under any circumstance is fun for me. I just love playing, and I love performing with these guys. So, this is just another opportunity for me to have a good time playing guitar. So hopefully it will come across well, and everyone will enjoy it, So
yeah, we're doing it in a studio setting, which is a little bit different, but it's always fun to do something different. So I'm looking forward to it myself. We're doing multi-cameras, and we're going to do it all live. So
that's going to be great. I'll be on there live watching
just going to say the sign of the cross before we count off songs.
So yeah, the only difference will be it's in a smaller and a more restrained area. So there's no stage to work. There's not a lot for me to do other than don't move out of my 18-inch square, right? So So we'll be concentrating more actually on the music and how it sounds, and putting some feel into it that way. But I don't think it's going to capture at all what it's going to be like on a larger stage by any means.
So the two caged Motley Crue dancers won't be on either side of us for this show?
Well, you better put that on extra wide if you want to catch them, because it's going to be an awful.
It's only camera.
So when people watch the video, they are there dancing. You can't see them.
That's just for the band's entertainment.
We can't watch that, or we'd be making mistakes.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? I know Charlie and Tony have to get going, guys. Thank you very much. It was so cool to talk to you guys. I can't wait to see you guys play live again. And thanks for spending some time with us and really enjoying the album. I think it's fantastic. And Dylan, you have anything before we sign off here?
No, the album is great, guys.
Thanks to you too. I just want to quick say thanks to you too for doing this. It makes it worth it for us to keep going when people are interested in what we're doing. So, yeah, we totally appreciate it, man. Take care of yourself. I'll tell John you said hello.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. And, like everyone's saying, stay safe out there. Wash your hands and, whatever. I think everyone's pretty much had it with all this stuff already. So you guys take care and thanks a lot. We really appreciate you guys coming on with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Good night.
No problem. Thank you, guys. All right. We're back. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Well, like I said, it was cool talking to those guys, and I can't wait to get back where we're going to be able to be going to concerts again and having that. And like I told those guys in the interview, I said you could not have picked a worse time to have a great album. And I was just like, when this came out, because Carl had let me listen to this album. I think I had this music back in late January, February. So we weren't in any of this pandemic shit then. So I was really looking forward to seeing them, because BC and I had already seen them in September last year, and they played the whole album. But like from then to when Carl would let me listen to the album, and actually Carl wanted me to help him sequence the album, and I sent him all my stuff. But then he got talking with John Zazula, the guy that discovered Metallica, and he went with his sequence on the album. How can you argue with John Zazula? I mean, the dude, Megaforce Records, like as BC would say, John Zazula. So, but it was so cool seeing those guys live, and I hope you guys get to see these guys play when they come out. So, like I said before, when I apologized to Tony Garuba about not talking to him about the song Hell Ride. So we're going to play that for our gem song today. So it's going to be Hell Ride from the Canedy Warrior album, sung by Tony Garuba. And actually, he plays the cello at the beginning as well. So Hell Ride, Dylan. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed Hell Ride from the new Canedy album and sung by Tony Garuba. Once again, Tony, sorry, buddy. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought it was a cool song. And so let's do Dylan, let's do Hidden Gems. We got a little time here. I'll go first. My Hidden Gem is going to be the House of Lords album called Live in the UK. Came out in 2007. The band lineup at the time was Lanny Cordola, guitars and vocals, Ken Mary, our buddy that's now in Flotsam and Jetsam on drums, Chuck Wright on bass, and vocals, and James, as always, James Christian on lead vocals. Just a really good, solid live album from these guys. It covers their pretty much their whole catalog up till then. I'll give you the quick track listing here. It's got Sahara, Chains of Love, Love Don't Lie, Pleasure Palace, Talking About Love, Edge of Your Life, Mind Trip, All Gone, The Rapture, I Want to Be Loved, Can't Find My Way Home, Slip of the Tongue, and then there's a bonus studio track on there called Havana. Just a really good, solid live album. The production's really good on there. And they're another band, Dylan, that I have not got to see. And they're on my bucket list bands. Hopefully they'll make the Monsters of Rock cruise one of these days, or M3 or something, and we can actually check them out. Because their guitar player now is Jimmy Bell, that is the current guitar player in Autograph as well. So
cool.
That would be cool. Maybe, if they were on the Monsters of Rock cruise, we can get to see both of those guys.
Hopefully he's shorter-winded than Stephen Lynch is on guitar solos.
Yeah. That's not the place for guitar solos. God, just don't even get me going, Dylan. Way to go. What do you got for a gem, Dylan?
My gem is a band that I like, Fever 333 or 333. I never know how to pronounce the second part of it, but it's three threes. They just came out with a new song called Supremacy. They're like a rap metal band. They do some really cool stuff. It's definitely different than what I've heard from any other musician, and I really enjoy what they're doing and the messages they're spreading and stuff like that. It's a very cool band. Got a lot of energy too, and they're apparently amazing live. So hopefully one day I'll get to see them once the quarantine's lifted.
Hopefully, for sure. Yeah. All right. So there's our hidden gems. We have Fever 333 or 333, Supremacy for Dylan, and I have House of Lords Live in the UK. For some reason, I'm thinking I already had that for a gem. If I did, sorry guys. You still might want to check it out because it's that good. I had to do it twice. So definitely check those out. Hope you guys enjoyed Hell Ride. So now, like I said before, Tony and Charlie were only able to hang out with us for a little bit, but Mike was able to stay on for longer. So what we did was we talked to Mike about his background and all that stuff, and how he became in the rods, and we had a great conversation with him and Carl. So check it out. All right, guys. Hey, we're back. It was cool talking with Charlie, Tony, Mike, and Carl from the Canedy Warrior, from the Canedy Band. The album is Warrior, and you guys, we played some songs for you guys in the first part of the show, and hope you guys enjoy them and support these guys. These guys they're fantastic, and I was like, and it was funny. Like I said before, like Carl had sent me these songs early, and I was blown away, and I was like I didn't want to bug them, but I wanted to call them every day. Like, when is this album coming out? Like, I want everybody to hear it. And now that it's finally out, I hope you guys enjoyed the songs on there, because we have played Warrior on the episode before. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So get out there, support these guys. And Carl, before we get into, we're going to talk about the rods, but before we get into that, let everybody know how they can pick up the Canedy album, because I didn't get into that on the last part.
It's CanedyBand.com, but it's CANEDY, so CANEDY band.com, and you can download the tracks. You can pre-order CD, you can pre-order vinyl, and of course we have vinyl now except for the pandemic, so but you can pre-order it, and it'll get to you as soon as possible.
All right, cool. Yeah, so you guys support, get out there, check these guys out for sure. I have my vinyl ordered, by the way.
Thank you.
And all right, so now we're going to talk a little bit of rods. We had the Brotherhood of Metal album out last year. Fantastic album.
That was our group pick for album of the year.
That was our album of the year for the podcast. We do an album of the year, and you're in good company.
Thank
because
you.
the year before it was Judas Priest Firepower.
Wow.
So you're in good company there.
That's great.
So and I don't know, I have a feeling the Canedy album might have something to do with that this year too. But so now the rods. You guys didn't play any shows yet, have you? From the Brotherhood of Metal?
No, we have not. We were starting to rehearse. Things were going really well, and then the pandemic hit, so everything seemed to come to a halt.
Crap. damn you, COVID-19.
That's what we said.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the first part of the show, like you could not have had a better album out at a worse time.
Yeah.
And and it put the kibosh on so many shows. Like by now, I would have seen Tool and Jackal and Accept. So and they're just crashed. All these shows are just going away. But now there's been some changes in the rod since we've talked to Carl last on the show. So Carl, why don't you just give us doesn't even have to be the Cliff Notes version.
No, I'll give you the full story. Our bass player Gary, who'd been with us for a million years. David and I have been together 40 years. This year, 2020. But Gary had been with us for quite a while. And, of course, Craig Gruber came back for a bit. But Gary's been our main bass player live for, decades. And but Gary decided he'd seen the world for the last 12 years and he wanted to retire from the rods. So he did the album, and then, that was it. He didn't want to do any live shows. So we brought in Freddie Villano, who Freddie has performed. Freddie and I have done live shows together. We've done albums together. And we even did a track on Jim Crean's London Fog album, which is a really good album, together. So Freddie and I, we're a really solid rhythm section and enjoyed playing with each other. So Freddie, who'd been with Quiet Riot and Dee Snider's Widowmaker, he was a good fit. And but David and I have been talking. We wanted to add a vocalist. We wanted to add a keyboard player. We've been wanting to do this, and we've had vocalists in the past. Shmulik Avagal, Rick Caudle. So we wanted to do that, and I asked Mike. So we were looking to audition some singers. John Gorman was one, and Jim Crean was another. Jim was very interested, and I was very interested in having Jim. He's a great frontman, and he's a great singer. So we're talking about him, and I invited Mike because obviously, as I think you had mentioned earlier, why haven't we heard of Mike on albums before, because he has such a great voice. So I had him come up, but when I was setting up, he and David spoke in one of David's studio rooms, and it was probably an hour, and when they came out, that was it. Mike was the singer. I guess they both hit it off well, and Mike can speak to that more than I can, but it was as simple as that for me. They came out, and basically David was like, Mike's the singer. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. I'm already in one band with him, so I'm good.
Awesome. Now, Mike, let's get your side of the story here. I think it's fantastic because when we saw you guys play live in Binghamton, and then Carl had called me, and he was and thank you, Carl, for confiding in me, by the way. And he said, we're making some changes in the rods. He said, Gary's retiring, and he said we have a singer. And I was like, who? He said, Mike. I'm like, Mike from Canedy, Mike? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I was blown away. And like I said, I talked to Carl before. I said, absolutely no disrespect to David singing and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be so cool hearing you, Mike, sing these songs, because I know you guys put a video out of Hurricane already. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, this is just a tip of the iceberg here. So, Mike, take it away. I was blown away that day. And he always seemed to catch me at work when I can't crank music up, but it's kind of weird how that happens. But Mike, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, my motto, I guess, all these years is that fortune favors the prepared, right? And rock and rollers of our make and model are getting fewer. So I was eventually going to get this call by attrition. Right? Enough people were going to die or retire that somebody was going to call me, right? So I was ready for it. But the Rod seems to me to be a really cool fit for two reasons. When David was younger, he had a great voice. So I'm listening to these Rod songs, and I'm like, wow, I could imitate that voice. That's right in my sweet spot. So this will not be a stretch at all for me to do these songs. But at the same time, that's not to take anything away from my predecessor's vocal abilities, because it's not a walk in the park. I have a 3.5 octave range, and I'm using all of it doing these Rod songs. So although it's a different style than I'm doing with Canedy, vocally for me it's a good workout and it's a great fit. And I think that David and I have similar enough voices that people won't be disappointed because I sound too different or that I sound like a carbon copy. I just think it's a good fit.
Right. It's not like Blaze Bayley coming in Iron Maiden.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
there you go.
Totally different.
I think Mike, you heard in that little video with Hurricane, Mike can not only do a credible job to the songs, he can elevate the songs, which is, that's a great thing because we've been doing these songs and now he adds a whole other dimension to it. So very exciting. And the same thing for the new material, gives us a lot of possibilities, a lot of room to expand songwriting.
Oh, absolutely, and I can't wait to see these songs, the new songs and the old songs get performed live. Now, Mike, when you went in for your audition, what songs did they have you play? Sing rather?
Maybe 4 or 5 songs off the Brotherhood, and then some of the older songs, Hurricane, and I'm drawing a blank now as far as the titles, but there are a couple of the older songs. I Was Born to Rock. That's a great song. That's my favorite of the whole pile, I gotta tell you. So, Carl, who sang that?
Sang which?
I Was Born to Rock.
David.
Oh, David? Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, just so to go back to what I was saying, vocally for me, that's making me use my entire range. I'm like, holy cow, this is a great song, and this is a great singer singing this song.
Mike, that was Shmulik. There are 2 versions of it. There's a live version of Born to Rock, which David sings, and I believe the one you heard was Shmulik Avagal, who is a truly great singer. And he was with Picture. Anybody who's interested in tracing that back, but Shmulik was with Picture and did a couple of really good albums with Picture.
Cool.
And I played drums on the Avagal album, which is out there.
Cool. Yeah, Mike, and were you surprised when you got the call from? I'm assuming Carl called you, right, about this?
Well, yeah, it did come out of the blue. If I was a little quicker on the uptake, I might have said, well, maybe I could have seen this coming because Carl and I had filled in. We went out to California together to fill in sorta at the last minute for another band that bought on to a couple of gigs with Metal Allegiance. So we went out there and played together. And I think what that did is it let us both know who we were dealing with. That, when you get thrown on a stage and you have to perform and you have to have each other's back, that we could rely on each other.
That's so important. You have to know you can count on your bandmates. Just like Charlie was saying, you guys have been together, so when you hit the stage, you're comfortable because you know the other guys are going to handle what they're supposed to do. And that was good for, like Mike said, for us, because that gave me a chance to see how he was live, and for him to see me, in that kind of a concert setting for, a large venue.
Yeah, for me, it was the workout there was not how hard the songs were, but the fact that they weren't my songs. I wasn't particularly in love with those songs. Neither was Carl, but we had to get out there and we had to own those songs and put that other band's songs in the best light that we could, and we did it. We did rather well, actually.
We did our job. That's right. We did it as well as we could.
Yep. So I'm very confident. You mentioned earlier on in the interview with Charlie and Tony that you imagine that when we get on stage, there's always butterflies, right? No, I do a lot of pacing, and it's like chomping at the bit, and it's like a dog or a horse at the gate. I just want the damn bell to go off so I can get out there and do my thing. So it's more like adrenaline than butterflies. I got to tell you, I just got to get out there and do it.
That's cool. Do we want to say who you guys played with out there? I wasn't aware. I don't even think I was aware that you.
I don't know.
You did that show. Metal Allegiance. I mean, that's like the metal all-star.
It was nice for me because Mark Tornillo was there. I got to see Mark. Michael Steritow played with Lou Graham. I got to see some old friends out there. Of course, Neil Turbin and different people. It was a good time out there. Mike and I went to the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame. Johnny Z and Marcia Zazula were there, and there were a lot of people. I got to see Carmine Appice, Vinny. Mike and I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of old friends for me, and Mike got to meet
Oh,
some
yeah.
of these people.
Yeah, and Mike Portnoy got inducted. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. Was that the
David
one that they
Ellefson.
just had? Or was that last year?
The year before.
Year before? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned Jim Crean before, and I did an interview with Mark Hoover from Rock 107 2 weeks ago with Vinny and Carmine, and I told them, he said hello, and they're like, hey, say hello, and they did a Dio tribute video for a song. I can never think of the name of that song. It pisses me off, but they did a live version of it, and Jim Crean is the vocalist on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was kind of interesting when you brought him up. But, I mean, it was cool. I mean, I thought you guys... I would like... Is there video from when you guys played out there?
There is.
Is there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to have to...
It's on YouTube. It's on my YouTube page.
I'll definitely have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's cool.
Mike, now, how many songs, do you know from the Rods now? Like, do they give you, like 20 songs to learn for... for shows, like, God forbid, not God forbid, God hope we can get shows back out there.
We do have a show booked in Chicago.
Yeah, if I got called tomorrow and they're like, guess what? COVID's over. We got to play. Then I would be able to probably do, maybe 15, 16 of those songs, except for the keyboard parts that we want to work in, but we have to do that carefully, because when a band spends its entire existence as a power trio, the keyboards just sort of have to be there to fill a little space, so you don't want to overdo it.
Right, for sure. And that song is Monsters and Heroes. Thank you, Dylan, for looking that up. I don't know why I can't think of that. I just, and it was, like I said, when you put that the Hurricane video out, I was just like that's it. Like, where's like 5 more songs? Like, so, you gotta get going on that. And also, Carl, tell us who is Gary's replacement.
Freddie Villano played with Quiet Riot and Dee Snider's Widowmaker. So, as I was saying, Freddie and I have done albums together, and we've played live together. In fact, the band we went to California with, that Mike and I performed with, was Held Hostage. And Freddie and I have done dates with Held Hostage. And Held Hostage has a new album out called Epic, with Tim Ripper Owens singing lead on that. And so they're out there promoting it now, and I'm wishing them well and trying to give them a plug whenever I can.
I actually just listened to that album today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, how can they, you can't go around with Tim Ripper Owens, singing either.
Yeah.
But,
and the songs are fun, so.
Yeah, definitely. Mike, who were your influences when you were a young lad learning your trade craft there?
Well, okay, so Elvis, ABBA, Neil Diamond, and then I went to high school. And then it was Boston, Kansas, Styx, ELO, a lot of prog rock, right? Not so much Rush and all. And then at some point in the 80s, I just fell head first into the whole glam thing. And people often compare me to singers that I really did not spend a lot of time listening to. I think I know 2 Queensryche songs, start to finish, maybe. But people always compare me to, Jeff Tate, and I don't know where they get it, but they're hearing it, right? So a lot of my influences have nothing to do with metal. Maybe that helps me in that I don't get too cliche writing metal songs, because all my influences are everything but metal. I really like guys who can sing and use their entire vocal range, and you don't always get that with metal, right?
Oh, for sure. And it's funny you said Queensryche, because on the prize, the very first thing I wrote down on that is very Queensryche-esque, if you want to call it that. And vocally and musically, I think. And it's funny that you are not a fan of Queensryche, and I'm sure it's just probably not something that you listen to. Even I'm just gonna go back to the Canedy album real quick here. Not Even Love on that song. I love your vocals on that. I think you portray a great sense of urgency in those singing that song. It's just one that caught me right off the bat, and I was like, wow, you could feel just the urgency in your voice when you sing that song. That one in Adia, I'm like, wow, like these songs are ones that, you could pick 18. We're going back to Canedy.
That's fine. That's the whole thing we're promoting.
Yeah,
right
so I wanted to get Mike's take on the Rods, but I just wanted to slip back to Canedy. And like Adia, and I told Carl first time I heard that, I'm like, that needs to be a single.
Yes,
I mean,
you did.
and
to that point, I've done so many interviews, and I would say at least 6 interviewers have pointed the song out as their favorite. And I wanted to go back about Mike. I just had a conversation today, and I've had this conversation because a lot of times in interviews they'll bring up the 3 Anthrax albums I did, and they'll talk about Joey and versus Neil and John Bush. And when Joey came in and auditioned for Anthrax, we brought him in, and the guys weren't even there. They were kind of hidden while Joey sang. But it was obvious that he brought something different to it, and I think that's what Mike brings. I think Mike's thing, not that he sings anything like Joey Belladonna, but the point is that he brings something new to what the music is. It's not cliched, it's different, and that's what makes it special. And I know that's what Joey Belladonna for me is in Anthrax, is it elevates the band from the norm. And Mike's vocals are the same for me with Canedy.
it does. It's different because like I said before, and I said to you, I said like, where Mike, where the hell have you been for all these years? Like come on, dude. I'm like, I'm sure you're around my age, and I'm like, how have I not heard of Mike before? So I mean, it's just crazy. So you guys out there, if you have not listened to the Canedy album, pick it up because it is great, and the vocals are fantastic on there. And like I said, that I just like and not even love just the urgency. I don't know, Mike. Do you feel that when you sing that? I mean, I'm probably just like talking out of my butt here, but
no. The thing with it's funny you pick that particular song. Sometimes when you're a songwriter, everything comes out of your personal experience, right? But in that particular song, it actually got a little scary to write that song because it's very introspective. What if I had a chance after all these years? What if I had a chance to actually do it, to actually get to the next level? What would I be willing to sacrifice? Now, sometimes you have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes to finish that song. So in that song, I'm the guy who actually left his wife and children for one more shot at his dream. And he could actually do that and walk out the door and do that. It's not something that I personally would be capable of doing. But if you're going to be a songwriter, you can't be your boring old self, You gotta, when you're writing that book about a murder, and it needs to be credible, and you need to convince, the reader that you were that cold-blooded killer. You're actually not. It takes some luck or art to do that, and I think I stumbled upon that with that song.
that was an amazing answer. That really was. The thing about the writing about a murder. That's crazy. That I never in a million years would have thought about anywhere near that kind of answer for that. That's like, my mind is blown right now. I just got to say that.
I actually texted Carl, I think after, I said, now that the song is written and I've stepped back from it and we've recorded it and Chris Collier has mixed it, I'm listening to that song and it's kind of scaring me a little bit. Do I have the capacity to be that person I was just talking about?
Well, whether you are or not, you sell it for sure, singing it. And I'm sure you're not, but and like I said, I like the urgency in that. And Warrior, I mean, that was the first, like, I think Carl sent me that one, that like as a lone track. He sent that to me, and I'm like, and this was before you guys played live too, because this was before the Binghamton show, and I think that was September last year, early September, and I was like, holy shit. And I think I texted him back like, oh my God, like if the rest of the album is like anywhere near this, it's going to be amazing. And then I played it for my buddy BC that came up to the show with us, and he's like, who the hell is that singing? And I told him the name because I had Carl's text, and he goes, he said, I never heard of him. He's not on anything else. I said, no. I said, but I don't. I said, I don't know why. And we're like, no, we don't know why. But we're so glad that you finally are. And I'm enjoying the hell out of the album, and I cannot wait to see the new incarnation of the Rods. It's just going to be just because Rod's fans are Rod's fans are Rod's fans, and I think it's going to be interesting to see fan reaction.
Yes.
When you guys play live, what has the reaction been from your fans since you've announced?
It's been surprisingly good, and it's been surprisingly, like with Gary having been in the band for so long, it's been interesting because David and I really have been the Rods all these years, but Gary's been there for the live shows, but it's not been much of a reaction with Gary leaving. I guess people realize he's been there a long time, and as far as adding Mike, I've had nothing but good things. People saying, "Wow, I can't wait to hear it." So, I think it's going to be. I think everybody will be pleasantly surprised, and I'm excited about it. And I think you can tell from just that little clip of Hurricane from just one rehearsal how great it sounds with Mike. It's just so powerful and so much range, and dynamically, we're going to be able to do songs like "Prisoner of Love" and things that we haven't done before. They have strong vocals. Where we had lead vocalists who can sing, and it's going to be great to have those songs in the set.
Now, when you recorded Hurricane at your rehearsal, did you guys record anything else? Any chances of any of that seeing the light of day?
No. I think that was it.
Yeah, that's all we recorded because we were in the very beginnings of rehearsing. It was clear that my vocal range matched David's. It was clear that there were still distinctly Rod songs. I'm not going to change any of these. I'm going to sing them as close to the original as I possibly could. But I think that Carl was really excited about the Hurricane thing because, when at the end of the song, when you go up and you sustain that whole last third of the song an octave up, I think that got him a little excited.
Blew me away. I'm like, oh, I gotta record this.
Yeah, and like it's a short song, and I was like, shit, that's it. Like, and then I'm looking down through the thing. I'm like, okay, there's got to be another song here, and I'm like, there's not. Like, damn it. And any chances of the Rods doing a live stream thing like you guys are doing for Canedy?
Johnny Z asked us to do something on the 21st of July, but that's not going to happen now, and so I don't know. We'll see. I think soon we're going to start up and we'll start rehearsing. So we'll see. If we get, 30 minutes or so, maybe we'll do a live one.
Okay, that'd be cool. Mike, do you have anything else to add? And we can let you go.
No, it's just that since I ran into Carl and under his stewardship, Tony, Charlie, and I, we had recorded albums back in the 90s. And I basically walked away from music because music was changing. Grunge took over. It's not what I wanted. It wasn't where it was going. Guys who could actually sing, guys who could actually, were just monsters on their instrument weren't required anymore. And I just thought it was all over. And, when we had the chance to get the band back together and Carl was going to help us navigate the waters, I was just really excited about it. I'm extremely happy for all the opportunities that have presented themselves since I know Carl. I just can't thank him enough, and all the guys in Canedy really appreciate all his guidance and everything that he's given us. Breathed a whole new life into 3 careers.
Yeah, well, thanks for those kind words. Hopefully there'll be another Canedy album, another TLC, which. That's totally lost cause. The TLC that is not with the hot babes. That's just 3 guys that are not that hot, but still a great band. But so we'll see, Mike. I think it's been a great. And so many times in interviews, I hear in reviews and interviews, "Wow, the singer is great. The voice just caught me immediately." In the voice, it gets so many compliments on your voice. So hopefully, this is just the beginning of what we'll be able to do.
And that's funny. A singer doesn't hear his voice that way. I hear my voice as fairly middle of the road and a chameleon that could pretty much imitate anybody, but nothing like super distinctive. I'm not an Axl Rose. I'm not a Bon Scott kind of thing, or a Tom Kiefer. So that worries me
both of those things are the first two singers you said, that's good because Axl's a real asshole and Bon Scott's dead. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not.
Yeah, for sure.
Well.
Yeah, but you know what? In you're very distinctive as well, because I was like I said, I was blown away. I'm like, why haven't I heard this guy before? And I'm just, I can't say that enough. And
Well, you had to know us back in the '90s, or you wouldn't have known us at all. If you didn't have the first two Totally Lost Cause albums, then that was it. That was my shot, and that was the last time anyone heard from me. And then I just wanted to get even with rock and roll and get my money back and get some kind of satisfaction. So I've been singing in cover bands and Journey tribute bands since.
Cool though, excellent. Yeah, Mike, thank you very much, and good luck out there. I really, really hope we can see you out on the road with both bands. How about it'll probably kill Carl, but I'd like to see a Canedy Rods double bill.
I'm trying to get us to go to Europe, and both bands, do a festival. Canedy one day, the Rods another day, or whatever. Something to make it work. So we'll see. It might happen.
That'd be awesome.
The Rods are booked in Greece in March, and I'm trying to get Canedy on the bill there. So we'll see.
Cool. Maybe I can get a stamp on my passport finally.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, Mike, we will let you go, my friend. Thank you very much. Dylan, you got anything for Mike before we go?
Your vocals are amazing, and I have to echo what Steve has been saying about how long it's just great to be finally hearing you in the limelight here, because you deserve it, man.
Oh, thank you. So, I'll tell my mom maybe she was right, because people are agreeing with her.
The one thing about your vocals, Mike, I just listened to a good friend of mine. I'm not going to mention the name, but a friend of mine and a longtime bandmate, and has a really great album. But the singer is just so freaking over the top for me, not for anybody else. You don't oversing, you don't oversell it. You just sing with emotion and power, but it's not overdone, and I think that's what resonates.
Well, I also keep in mind that if I'm going to be real about it, let's assume that I have to actually sing these songs live. Let's see somebody who overdoes it do it live over and over again. It's going to blow his throat out. So you got to be reasonable about things.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, great.
Yeah, you can do it. You're able to do it every time. So.
All right. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it, and we
Thank
will
you, guys.
definitely see you on the road. Have a good night, my friend. Thank you.
Peace. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Streets at night, I terrorize at every corner.
Hi everybody, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the interview and also the song Hurricane from the Rods in the Raw album. Actually, we mentioned in the interview that Mike recorded a version of that that's available on the Rods Facebook page. So check out if you want to hear another singer, the new singer of the Rods, do that song. Very cool part of the interview though. He seems really honored to be a part of the Rods, and I really appreciated that. It seems like this is a really big deal for him, which it is, I think.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic, and it was cool talking to him. And like I said, before, during the interview, no disrespect to David's vocals or anything, but like it is cool, and I think it's really gonna free David up to just like totally tear it up. He won't be chained to that microphone anymore, and he could just they're just a fantastic band live. New bass player. I can't wait to see them with him. So it's going to be cool.
And I know that both you and I were in awe when Mike was talking about how he embodied the one character recording the one song with Carl's band, and how it was like method singing, almost like method acting, but singing, and that shows that he really cares about the craft. I think that he really wants it to be as good as it can be.
Yeah, and like when he, his reaction to it, like when he listened back to it and thought about it, that he wrote it from he had to write it from someone else's point of view, which was very cool.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. Mike, very very nice, very humble guy, and I want to. Carl and Mike did an interview with our buddies Alan, Dennis, and Bill over at the Ages of Rock podcast. They did that. They recorded actually, I think the week before we interviewed these guys, and hey guys, thanks for the shout out for our podcast, and you guys check out the Ages of Rock podcast. Those guys have a good show going over there, and they have an interview with Mike and Carl as well, and I hope you guys enjoy that. And so the last part of our episode this week is going to be Dylan and I just talked to Carl alone. So what we did was we got into all kinds of stuff, just like old days road stories. I'm not going to throw any names out there, so I want you to just listen to it and see who gets mentioned here. It was just very cool talking about that. And it's funny because like Carl was out there hanging out with, we already mentioned him, like Lemmy and guys like that. And I was in 6th grade when he was on tour with these guys. And like 80 to 82, I was, early middle school, so, and here these guys are and tearing up the world. So what do you think about that part though?
It always amazes me hearing Carl's stories about working with the Rods, because the bands that they've played with, it's just mind-boggling that somebody that lives not even a mile away from us, it's closer than a mile, right?
No, not even, probably half a mile.
Yeah, like half a mile away from us, has had this storied career and met all of these amazing people and played shows with these people. Like it's wild. It's crazy.
And then he invites us to his home to talk about it.
And he's so nice about it. He's always willing to share these stories. He's not big-headed or anything like that. He's such a down-to-earth guy that just loves the music and loves talking about it.
Right, very, very humble. So hey, I hope you guys enjoy this part, because it was like I was just there, like I didn't want him to stop talking. We literally could have done this interview for like 3 hours, but we like to be respectful of people's time, and we were there for quite a while, so I didn't want him to outstay our welcome. So so check out Carl's road stories. All right, I don't know. We can call this part 3, I guess. We're here with just Carl Canedy at the
Just Carl Canedy.
Just.
What?
just the one and only. How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
We're here at Carl's kitchen table, actually, doing this whole show today. And Carl, once again, thanks for coming on with us. It's great, and
thanks for
always
coming
great talking with you.
Casa Carl.
Hey, it's always good. And let me tell you guys out there, Carl puts on a hell of a New Year's Eve party here. It's awesome, just so you guys know. And I felt honored to even be invited. And BB and I came over.
Yes.
Over not this year, the year before that, and it was really nice. Ton of people here.
You snubbed us this year.
Huh? This year was tough, but hopefully next year, maybe we'll be able to have parties again next year.
That's right. I think we're gonna have one anyway.
I know. I think everyone's gonna. I think everyone's just so sick about
maybe
this shit.
with masks on, but we'll have one.
It'll be, you could do like the New Year's Eve masquerade ball.
Right, that's true. That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah. So let's talk a little. Maybe we'll get a little couple maybe war stories here. Some old Rods things. Touring back in the day when you guys were a young band out there, young power trio, and you had your first shows. What were some of the your favorite bands to tour with? I won't say your favorite bands out there, but your favorite bands to tour with, ones that you guys got along with really good and just kind of hit it off really well. I'm sure there's probably some bands out there that were assholes too.
There are always bands who have their own thing going and they're busy and but I think probably the best. Iron Maiden was the best. They were so gracious and they brought champagne into the dressing room the first night and said hi, and we wanted an American band and we wanted you guys, and so they were really cool. They treated us well. We did well on the tour with them. And then we played other dates with them here in the States, and they were always great. Judas Priest was always great to us, and so most of the bands we toured with were actually good to us. But you have your favorites.
That's cool. Yeah. Any shenanigans going? I don't mean shenanigans. I mean just like because you'll see sometimes like if it's a band's last night on tour when they're getting done with their set, they'll come out and you'll get the pies or anything crazy like that.
No, there was nothing crazy. I'm surprised.
Oh.
Yeah, now that I think of it,
It's
and
kind
I'm
of
glad.
disappointing.
I'm glad because, it's fun for those on tour, but it's not always fun for the crowd. The people who paid
That's true,
see
too.
the show, they don't want to see a guy with a pie in the face. They want to see the show.
And I think it would really suck cleaning whipped cream off your drums, too.
It would, yeah. There would definitely be severe punishment for someone throwing a pie on my drums.
Yeah.
I don't mind on me, but on the drums, that's a big problem.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and when you guys were out touring, like what was a typical day? Like you probably had. I mean, you guys were probably playing maybe an hour, like 40 minutes to an hour. How did you spend the rest of your day?
When we weren't traveling, it was funny because the three of us, Gary, David, and I, like Gary and David. Particularly David is an avid golfer. So there you would see us with cut-off black T-shirts, long hair on the golf course, golfing. And, you have to remember that today if you saw somebody like that on the golf course, maybe you wouldn't think too much of it. But back then,
80s.
In the 80s, it was like, we were still in that, they girls, what were they?
Yeah.
So it was, and of course there was our golf etiquette was probably not the best in terms of dress, the attire for the golf course. So, jeans and black cutoff shirts and long hair. But that's what we did. We would go bowling. I mean, we got out and we would sightsee and we would do things like bowl and golf and hang out, whatever there was to do that was fun. We didn't sit around the hotel room and, none of us really drank, so we were never hungover. So we got up in the morning and did things.
That's a bonus for sure. When you guys Metallica opened up for you guys, right?
A couple of shows.
I know we covered that. Dave Mustaine was still in the band at the time, correct? How have you met? Did you interact with him at all or anything like that? Or?
I don't know why, but I don't. I never really spent any time with Dave. So that was.
How were the other guys?
They were cool, and I would see Lars and James and what's his name in California?
Cliff Burton.
No, the guitarist.
Kirk? Kirk Hammett.
Kirk, yeah. But I haven't seen him in a long time. I haven't seen Lars in a long time. I think the last time was like 87 or something in France when we did a festival together and they were playing. So.
Very cool. And our mutual friend, Jim Polkowski, who lives like 2 streets up, I asked him if he had any questions for you. One of the ones was the Rods live album was recorded at Calderon Hall, opened up for Motorhead. Do you have any stories from that night? And was it the complete show that was put on the Rods live album?
No, we did. We recorded live. We took I can't remember what 24 track, 16 track, 1-inch tape recorder with us, a mobile unit. And so that was one show we recorded, but we recorded on a number of shows. But Motorhead, I remember that show because it was, Motorhead was, to that date, the loudest band I'd ever heard. They were so loud, it was unbelievable. With my earplugs in, I was still scared. And seeing Lemmy, you know, up at the mic, and I was like, oh my God. Because remember when we first released our album, Sounds Magazine said, they gave us 5 stars and they said we were the American Motorhead. And we didn't know who Motorhead was. So we went out and bought Ace of Spades, and we're looking at these badass guys with the coolest name ever. And we had no idea, you know. So seeing them live, you know, was unbelievable how loud they were. But after hanging out with Lemmy's got his sweaty arm around me, and he was just the friendliest guy. And, you know, me, I'm the guy who has to take the bath before I leave the house, even if it's on fire. You know, so
that's good to know. So if your house burns, we'll look in the bathroom first.
Rescue me in the bathroom, yes. So that was, you know, it was really great hanging out with Lemmy. He was a very cool guy. He was very intelligent and he really loved the fans. And, you know, so he's a good guy.
Yeah, I think that, you know, after reading a couple biographies and stuff, I think a lot of people were very surprised at how intelligent of a man he was. Mm-hmm. Very well read, massive World War II buff.
Yes.
Just like crazy. And the man never drove.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
He never drove. And there's a band that they've since disbanded called Hair of the Dog, and Ryan Spencer Cook is one of the guys that is does the Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley band, and he did a song with Lemmy doing it, and Lemmy's like, no problem, but like the record company set up where they had to pick him up in the morning, and they had to take him to the dentist, and then they said all they wanted was like a box of Oreos and a couple bottles of Jack, and that was he didn't want to be paid, but he was just like they just kind of had to chauffeur him around for the day, and just, you know, get him some Jack Daniels, and I want to think it was Oreos, but like he was an intelligent guy.
There was something you said in there that was maybe a good reason why he wasn't driving.
True. Very true.
Too many Oreos.
Couple bottles of Jack.
You can't drive with all those Oreos.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right. Too many Oreos.
Yeah. So I mean, and you were torn with them in their heyday. I mean, it had to be just crazy because it was, you know, they still had Phil Campbell and Filthy Phil on drums.
Lemmy was outside talking to me, and we were talking to fans, and we were hanging out, and he had his arm around me, and he had a beer, and he was offering me beer, and he's sloshing the beer, and, you know, he was just Lemmy. He was for a rock star. He was a very down to earth guy. He was normal in that regard. No pretentious jackass stuff. He was just a good guy.
Very cool. Very cool. Who was your favorite band that you guys toured with?
You know, there are a bunch of them. I would say Ozzy was my favorite because we loved Ozzy, and I just thought that band was great with Tommy Aldrich and Rudy Sarzo, and of course, what's that guitarist's name? Randy somebody.
Randy something. Yeah.
And they were phenomenal. You know, they were just a great band, and what a sound! And so it was a lot of fun, you know, doing dates with those guys.
That was cool. Any cool interactions with Randy Rhoads? Because I mean, you're actually, I think, probably the only person I've ever met that met him, and that was, I mean, that's the, you know, people say the classic Ozzy band. That's it right there.
It is, yeah.
You know, and you can.
I agree with that.
I mean, nothing against the guys that Lee Kerslake and Bob Daisley that recorded the first 2 albums, but like the live band, I consider that the classic Ozzy band.
I agree.
Any Randy Rhoads interactions?
I love Bob Daisley and Lee Kerslake. You know, I just saw him in California 2 years ago. It was phenomenal. His drumming on that stuff is great. Mm-hmm. It's so solid.
And I was pissed when they replaced it.
You know, I would have to say that was...
that was a Sharon thing.
That was a Sharon money thing, not a fan thing.
Yeah,
because the fans loved the record the way it was. And that was just an FU to those guys because they wanted a fair share, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I can't speak to it. Sharon's a really brilliant manager, so I can only say so much about her. And she's always been fair to me. Even after we did dates for years, I would just contact the office and Sharon would leave tickets for me. You know, so I have nothing bad to say about her.
Yeah, and she's always, I think she's always done a fantastic job of surrounding Ozzy with talent.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think, you know, everyone has their favorite guitar player. Of course, BB has Zakk Wylde, bearded and unbearded, but everybody's got their favorite, but you can't say, well, he sucked. Like, none of them. No. I mean, he was always surrounded by
great guitarists.
Top talent. Absolutely. And just fantastic. So, how about Randy Rhoads? Have you?
So Randy Rhoads, you know, we got to say hi to the guys and we'd see the guys. But the first night at the Landmark Theater, Gary had borrowed a strap from Rudy Sarzo, and Randy was going off to the dressing room to warm up. And you got to remember that at that time, we hadn't really heard sweep picking, and we hadn't heard, that was a new thing, the Satriani kind of style of playing. And so we're in our dressing room with our bologna tray, which we were thrilled about, the rolled up bologna with the toothpicks, like, wow, man.
We really made it.
We have made it. Oh my God, look at these little rolls that came with it, and look at this, is bologna with olives in it. Oh my God, that's incredible. So we're standing there, in our dressing room, kind of warming up and talking, and all of a sudden we hear Randy Rhoads fire up, and he's playing all the sweep picking so fast. Nothing you hear on the Ozzy albums. Just this Satriani kind of thing, but blazing. But at a volume where it was so loud in our dressing room, and he was way down the hall, that we couldn't talk at our dressing room. And we were yelling and could barely hear each other. That's how loud he was playing.
Holy shit.
So I imagine that had he lived, there would have been some hearing damage somewhere along the way. But wow, what a player. And what he played, what I heard in that warm-up was just blew me away. And I never heard anything and play anything like it on any of Ozzy's albums. But it just showed me that it gave me an even greater respect for him as a guitarist, because he wasn't even showing what he was capable of on the Ozzy albums, and yet we all know and love what he played on those albums as being phenomenal. And so, who knows what he would have done had he gone on. He might have been another Hendrix for all we know.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that besides Jimi Hendrix, I think those are the two guitar players that are the biggest what-ifs.
Yeah.
They had lived, longer type deals. And
I mean, as great as Eddie Van Halen is, and I love Van Halen, but I want to say that I've been pissed at Eddie for a long time, because I think he should have been cranking out some great albums instead of squandering that talent, but that's just me. You can call me and bitch at me, Eddie. It's okay.
I don't think there's anybody that would disagree with you. I mean,
and Eddie, after you call and bitch at Carl, if you'd like to call us, we would love to have you on the show.
we could have a debate. Yeah, we could do that. We could have a little online tennis match here.
You can come
for
on
sure.
Hotter Than Hell, and then they can call me and you can bitch at me.
That's right. Yeah, for sure.
But even Eddie, as great as he was, there's nothing like what Randy Rhoads was playing. So who knows what Randy would have done.
Yeah, and those first two albums that he's on are just like crazy. I can't imagine hearing that. Like, you said it's something like he even played on the albums. Like, my mind is like the hamster's really running overtime, and they're going, what the hell could that have even been?
Right. Well, we just hadn't heard that kind of playing.
Right.
So, and it was so blazingly fast, and it was just nothing we'd heard before. So
That's absolutely crazy.
What's Jim Polkowski have to say?
Well, that was actually encapsulated in a couple of them there. Drummers you've toured with. Thoughts on like Clyde Bird, Dave Holland? How many shows have you played with Rainbow and
Rondinelli?
Bobby Rondinelli.
Let's see. We did a run with Rainbow. I don't know how many shows. Like, I know we did Washington and Norfolk, Virginia, and we did a bunch of shows with Rainbow. And Rondinelli was great. Rondinelli was, and still is, the classic New Yorker. He's chewing a toothpick. He's playing fast stuff on the drums. But Bobby Rondinelli did this thing that just made me hate him. Because the first Foghat show we did, I'm sure I've told you the story, I was so thrilled that at the end of the show, I wailed my drumsticks into the audience. We were playing at the arena in Binghamton, and I wailed my drumsticks. I was so excited. Like, seeing drummers do this, that is so cool. Now I can do this. So I'm wheeling my sticks, and of course, as soon as I got done, our manager goes, Carl, don't ever do that again. That's a lawsuit. So I could never throw my sticks. I go out, still to this day, I go out and I toss them underhand. And Rondinelli did this thing where he would hit a rim shot on his snare drum, and he would hit his cymbal at the same time. So bam! But while he hit the cymbal, he would let it go, and it would go spiraling off into the crowd. And he would burn dozens of sticks in his drum solo. Bam! 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 And he's spinning these drumsticks off, and I'm thinking, I can barely throw them off the stage without getting yelled at. And this bastard is just wailing. First, and the other thing was, where does he get all these freaking sticks? He just throwing them into the audience. They're like $10 a pair. What's going on here? What am I missing? So, but Rondinelli is a great drummer, and I think his track on Stone Cold is a great track. It's so subtle and understated, but powerful. And but he's a great drummer. I was always a big fan since the early days of "Been on a Million Gravel Roads." You know, I always loved. I didn't love Black Oak, Arkansas, that much, but I did love Tommy Aldridge, and so. You know, getting to play with Tommy Aldridge was great. The first show we did with Ozzy, during my drum solo, I look over and there's Tommy Aldridge peering from behind the curtain, watching me do my drum solo. I was like, wow. And of course, he's watching everything that he ever played because I stole everything from Tommy Aldridge. And, and he was a dick, though. I have to say that he taught me a big lesson about your idols because I think it was the next night at Utica, at the arena in Utica. He's sitting there with my friend. A lot of the Rainbow, Deep Purple, Road Crew, they were all crew with Elf and with the Rods. And even Bon Jovi. My drum tech was with Bon Jovi for years. So I knew Ox, who was his drum tech. So they're sitting outside at the door behind the arena. And so I walk up to him and I said, Tommy, I just think you're a great drummer. And, I've been a huge fan for years. And, just doing the fanboy, I really just wanted to tell you that, just really great. And I've probably stolen a million things from you, but, been a big influence on me. And he just turned his head and didn't say a word. And my buddy Ox, who was his drum tech, looked at me and just shrugged his shoulders like, hey, I don't know what to tell you. So that was my first experience with a rock star who was a dick. And, I hate to slag the guy, but, it is what it is.
It is what it is, absolutely.
And, but nonetheless, still to this day, I love his drumming. I love his showmanship. It was cool.
He's still a monster drummer.
He is
for sure.
A great showman.
Bobby Rodinelli, I got to see him. He was when he was playing with Sabbath. When Tony Martin was the singer, we saw them. They played at Harvey's Lake. Just monster drummer.
He is.
And look at the shoes he had to fill in Rainbow and in Sabbath, Bill Ward, Cozy Powell. He's got to play all this stuff, and then plus, he's like you said in Stone Cold, his own material that he recorded, just that, and then he had his own style. So
and he's a really good guy, but he's a great drummer, and he's a bastard for throwing away so many sticks, doing all those things. Now I can't do.
Now tell me. Did you try to do that? Like when you're practicing? How many things did you break?
I've done that. I didn't break any. But because it's not like you break the stick, you're just giving it away.
No, like when you say you practice in a hall, like where you practice, you know what I mean? Did you I smash things off the walls and stuff?
In a rehearsal hall, with that cymbal thing. It was great. It's fun to do. I didn't break anything though.
It was like shooting the BB gun in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Clive Burr was a sweetheart. He was a great guy. I used to watch him from behind him underneath, he'd be looking down at me, and he was a really sweet guy. And it was too bad. He was a signature kind of drummer. He's not like Nico, who's a monster drummer. I've always loved Nico's drumming, but there was something about Clive's playing that was musical that I loved. Yeah,
those first three Maiden albums, especially, and I'd say especially Killers, and I don't know, Killers and Number of the Beast. Like a lot of his stuff on there. Nico can't play. He plays it, but you're like, it's just that little bit off.
And when he plays in Run to the Hills, the little descending tom thing, it's so basic, but it's such a signature. And it's one of those things that I think a really technical drummer would never play it.
More of a feel thing?
It's the perfect part, but it's just, who would think of playing this simple, it's like drumming 101.
Right.
A technical drummer would go, well, it's too simple. I wouldn't do it. But it was the perfect part for that song. It just makes it to me. It's a big hook.
Yeah, I think that, and that's one thing that I enjoy about your drumming. There's a lot of great fills, like on Lies, on the Canedy album. I'm like, holy shit. But it's not like, and I think I talked about it in another episode we did with you, like, I think Frankie Benelli is a fantastic drummer, but I think he gets a little too crazy. He gets too, like, there's like blast beats in the middle of a Quiet Riot song. Like, that is not the venue for that kind of drumming. It's just not. Because we saw him at the
M3.
At the Staircase. We saw him in a club show, and it was fantastic. But me and BC were like, man, he was like out of his mind. He was like, and actually, that's when he had the orange John Bonham, the clear set.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
And I think he was trying to channel John Bonham, but I don't think you ever heard John Bonham play blast beats in the middle of Black Dog or anything like that. But that's like kind of how it got. But like, I think your playing it's powerful. There's great stuff there. There's a lot of fills, but it's not overplayed. And I just like like even in Warrior, there's just such great drumming in there, and like the arrangement of that song is just crazy. I love it. Like, that's one, mm-hmm. And like I said, that was you sent me that song like last year, and I was like, holy shit! Like, you got something here. I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm proud of the album, and I'm so appreciative that you were early on telling me, because you don't know. I don't know how people are going to react when you do an album. You never know.
Yeah,
you put it out there, and
right. And I got to tell you, I get a little nervous when you send me stuff, because I'm like, man, I hope this is great. I'm not thinking it's going to suck, but I'm like, please be as good as I think it's going to be.
It's like watching a live show. You're praying that there's no reason to think that it's not going to be good. Right. But you're praying that it's like, I hope the guitarist doesn't mess up, or I hope the singer's voice is well rested. Mm-hmm. You want the best product from somebody.
And I think we definitely got it.
With drum fills, you're talking about, I just play as many fills as I can and hope that a couple of them are good. Just go with the law of averages.
No, they're good. And like I said, I love the snare sound. I'll give you one more Jim Polkowski question here. For the past years, I've heard rumors about a possible package tour in the States with either Anvil or Raven, or both. Mm-hmm. Now that you have a new band lineup, will they tour? Will they tour heavier? Is the package tour a possibility? And then he said, "Who do we have to blow to get it close to the Northeast in Pennsylvania? Gas is expensive, dignity is cheap."
Yeah, that's funny. Anvil has always asked us to go out with them. They're very kind, and they ask us regularly for the rods. There was a tour with Udo Dirkschneider. Was it 2 years ago for Europe? 30-day tour, but it was in December. We declined because I think the last was Christmas Eve, and we didn't really want to be gone and traveling Christmas Eve, so we declined that for the rods.
I remember that tour because they were playing somewhere close in New Jersey or Saylorsville, I think, and it was like the 22nd or 23rd. Mm-hmm. It was like, I'm like, it's too close to Christmas to go.
Yes.
You don't know what the weather's going to be either.
And that's right. So that was I would have loved to have done it, but as far as the Anvil Raven thing, would have been a great idea, and there was talk of it, but at this point, who knows what's going to happen. And the other thing is that as far as the Canedy Band, I want Canedy on the road as much as possible, but it's always about money, and it's about logistics, and we're a baby band. So right. I think we're starting to make some noise with this album. Is it going to be enough to get people to come and check us out without being with a strong headline act?
Right.
But I think we'll be great as an opening act and a good bill. So I don't know. Would we be a fit on that bill with Anvil and Raven and Canedy? Absolutely. But, would we be asked? I don't know. So,
right.
Sorry, Jim. We'll have to figure out. But I will research who you have to blow.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, we'll wrap up here, Carl. We definitely appreciate you, inviting us into your home here, especially during this time in our history here. And, we really appreciate it, and can't wait to see the new incarnation of the Rods. I can't wait to see Canedy again on the road. BC and I went up, like I said before, BC and I went up to that show, and just on the way home, we're just like, that was like fucking awesome. And I was like thinking, because I knew you were going to have the album coming out, and we were talking about it from then till all this other bullshit started. We're like, it's going to be cool because we're definitely going to see the Rods, and we're definitely going to see Canedy come out and play shows. And now it's like shit. But hopefully, all this stuff will
yeah, hopefully it'll be something
in quotation blow over where we can get to a live show.
The July 3rd show for the Rods, maybe it'll happen in August, but they're talking about the parking lot thing, the tailgate thing, and hopefully that's how we're going to wind up doing concerts for a while. But once people figure it out, the venues, then we'll be doing tailgate parties, perform. So hopefully we'll get back to it, and bands will be out there playing.
I hope they'll let us sleep in our cars after.
Yeah. To bring the designated driver.
Yep.
But I think that what you were saying, I really appreciate the kind words and the support, you guys coming up to see us at the show in Binghamton. But I want, that's why I want us to be out there, because I think Canedy, we're able to play that stuff live, the whole album, top to bottom. And that's unusual, It's not easy for a band to be able to nail a whole album top to bottom and have it sound credible. And I think we can, and I'm excited about that. And it was fun to play. I wasn't nervous in Binghamton either, because, like I said, we became a band while we were working on this material, so it's, it was an easy, I knew the guys would deliver, and so it made it fun for me.
Do you think it made it easier for you transitioning into that band that you had played with Tony for so long?
No, I don't. I think it was easy because I knew Tony, but no, I don't think so. I think, of course that's a factor, but I think we had to kind of find our way as a group. So, but I think the fact that Tony and I have locked in from day one, rhythmically, usually, I felt a push-pull with Gary my whole time with Gary and the Rods. I was never comfortable with how we fell together. Like Craig Gruber, when Craig was in the band, he and I locked in. Gary and I never locked in. Gary and I were on different wavelengths, it seemed. And so, even though live he was such a monster bass player, but we were never really locked into that, in my opinion. I always felt push-pull. And with Tony, I never felt that from day one. So when we did the Canedy thing, I guess it was just a comfort level that whatever we were doing, I've never felt any rhythmic issues with Tony. So, and the same with Freddie. He and I locked in, no rhythmic issues. And my buddy Craig Gruber, has passed away, but he was just a monster bass player. And Craig and I played so well together, and I love playing with Craig.
Very cool. What do you got, Dill?
I just think it's amazing how much of a workhorse you are. You do so many things that I just I feel ashamed. It's oh, he wrote another album, he's going to be touring, he's got 2 bands going, and I'm just sitting at home working. It's just kudos to you, man. It's
Thank
amazing.
you. Mike Portnoy has inspired me, I have to say that Carmine and Mike Portnoy, but Mike Portnoy, he knocks out one project. Billy Sheehan, the same. Those guys, they knock out one project and they're on to the next. And, I was playing the song with Angels of Dresden, which will be released soon. I'm playing drums on that. I played a track for Bryn Ahrens, which was called Rock and Roll Circus. Kalakis, we're almost done with an album we've been recording. And I just did a song called Planet Love. I just sent the drum tracks to the bass player who basically produces this stuff. So I just finished that the other day. I try to stay busy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have 2 more things because, and actually BC has a question for you as well. What do you think your best show was with the Rods?
Best show. That's one of those questions where you have the best show based on one criteria or another. My favorite show was opening for Blue Oyster Cult at Really Rift, where they had Godzilla as #1 song at the arena. That was my first arena show. And we'd known the Blue Oyster Cult guys, and David had toured with those guys, with Elf. And they were from the Ithaca area, some of them, so we kind of knew them, just 3 degrees of separation. So that was a great show for me. And I got to throw my drumsticks into the crowd, so I was really happy. So that was one of my favorite shows. I don't know that we were that good. I don't remember it being anything but just adrenaline. So I don't know. But I know there were some maiden shows we did in England that were really good. And I know that playing the Marquee show at the end of the maiden tour, selling out the Marquee, being in the dressing room, now growing up, obviously 10 years after, I'd see different bands, the live albums and live at the Marquee, and I'm like, oh, the Marquee must be the coolest club in the world. And then to be in that dressing room where all these famous bands that I loved as a kid growing up, they're all autographs and they're signed on the walls. It was like in the dressing room. It was a shitty little dressing room, but was amazing. The history, and to be on that stage and have the crowd love the band. That was a great show. And then of course going backstage and going back during David's guitar solo to get something, and I walk in and there's a naked woman in the room. And I'm like, what's this all about? And so I go, she's changed. She goes, hi. I go, hi. And I go back out on stage, and our manager had hired a stripper. And so she comes, so obviously that's why she wasn't embarrassed that I walked in when she was totally naked. And go back on stage and play, and then she comes out, and the crowd goes wild, and David's rubbing his guitar on her butt, and making a really beautiful music. And but it was a memorable show, and it was a fun show. So
that's cool. And you just did an interview with friends of ours maybe a week or two ago with the guys from Ages of Rock podcast, Alan, Dennis, and Bill. And I just wanted to thank those guys, because I know that they had said to you, hello to me.
They gave a shout out to you, and that's nice you're giving a shout out to them. And they were great guys. We did it as a Zoom, and the offer still goes. I think, was it Bill? Still goes, the offer for $200 for the guitar.
All right, cool. Yeah, and Bill's been up, and he visited me at the firehouse the one because his son's in West Point.
Oh, wow, nice.
So he actually stopped in the one day when him and his wife were driving up there to visit his son.
Well, next time, Bill, bring the guitar. I've got cash. $200 for you. Have you seen his guitar?
No, because I didn't watch the episode yet, but by the time you hear this, I will have watched it, because I didn't want what they asked you to skew what I was going to ask you.
Well, make sure you see his guitar. It's well worth $200. It's a custom guitar, absolutely beautiful, and that's why standing offer for $200 for it.
All right, cool.
Might be worth a little more, a few thousand more actually.
Oh, maybe you're talking about Dennis, because I know Dennis just had a custom guitar made.
Oh, okay, so Dennis.
Okay, so yeah, because it's probably Dennis. Uh-huh. Yeah. Because he's
so he isn't coming through. Then I'm not going to see that guitar ever for $200, am I?
No, I mean they kind of live together. Maybe Bill can take it on a road trip like Flat Stanley. Okay. We can at least get a picture with it. Yeah. So thanks you guys for the shout out to us, and
thank you for the support for Canedy.
Absolutely. So we'll wrap up. Anything else, Dylan?
I just find it amazing that we have this metal legend right in our backyard, basically, and we didn't know
they were all neighbors.
Yeah, we were. It's just wild, and I knew you from doing the sound for my school productions, and it's just wild to think that technically, the Kevin Bacon, I have performed with Iron Maiden.
All right.
There you go. In my delusional mind, I could do that.
Kevin Bacon, and your dad's responsible for outing me here in Carbondale, because he's the one who saw me in the grocery store and asked, "Are you Carl Canedy?" And I was. Up until then, I was Aaron's dad.
Yeah.
My Oxford button-down shirt. Homeroom dad. Bringing cupcakes for the kids and helping in the school and going on the school bus trips and being in the little metal tin can rolling down the road and with the screaming kids. And all of a sudden now people started hearing that I was in a heavy metal band. Oh my God, my kids have been around someone in the rods. Oh my God, bringing cupcakes to school. Oh my God.
Check them for razor blades. Yeah, and like I said, it's been a pleasure, becoming friends with Carl, and it's I feel honored that he thinks enough of me and us to let us check out his projects before they come out.
You sequenced the Rods album. Steve sequenced the Rods album, Brotherhood of Metal. So I think the honor and pleasure is mine. I mean, it's been a huge help. David and I were struggling, and Steve gave us his sequence, and David and I were both, wow, we can't do any better than that.
Yeah. Well, that was the group effort, that one. That was the group effort.
It was great.
It was, because that night that we met, it was just amazing. We're like, I can't believe we're sitting here, and they're hopefully going to take our recommendations and love the. Oh my God!
Well, we did, and it worked out really well.
Yeah. So
thank you guys.
Well, no, anytime, you guys out there, and definitely check out the Canedy album, Warrior. It is freaking excellent, and check out the Rods Brotherhood of Metal album that came out last year, and check out their back catalog. It rocks. I mean, great power trio stuff, a lot of rocket stuff. A live album out there. There's a couple other live things out there as well. Check them out on YouTube. Check them out, on Facebook. Carl's out there. You could probably friend him yourself on Facebook. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed our talk with Carl, and thanks to our buddy Jim Polkowski that supplied me with some of the questions that we talked about. And I literally only brought up a couple of questions that Jim did because he sent me a shitload. So, Jim, thank you for those questions. And I just like Carl's humbleness and his honesty. And he called out Tommy Aldridge was a dick, like. And I was kind of surprised because I've never heard Carl say anything like that about anybody.
Yeah.
So for a guy like Carl to call you a dick, you must be a massive dick.
Yeah. And it's amazing because Carl was basically the guy that got Joey Belladonna into Anthrax. Like, just thinking about that is wild. I have a shirt of an album that Carl produced for Anthrax. I have a Spreading the Disease shirt. It's wild.
I mean, he's down in metal history. I mean, you can't take that away from him. Those are great albums. Those first 3 Anthrax albums, and the first couple Anthrax albums. There's some of the Anthrax albums that some people only listen to those albums.
Yeah.
So I mean, very cool. I mean, he's had a great storied career. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We sure as hell did. I love having everybody together, but it's kind of tough doing an interview with everybody. Mm-hmm. And so I hope BC and BB enjoyed their week off. I think next week, we got BC's birthday episode next week, don't we? I think
we do, yeah.
Yeah, so stay tuned for BC's birthday episode next week. Oh, God only knows it. And I'm just going to tell you, it will not be all Lizzie Borden albums, for sure. So, check out our Spotify playlist. Dylan's going to put one on the bottom of this episode. I think we're going to do a little mix of, Rod's music, some Canedy stuff, and some of the bands that, some of the guys that Carl has toured with, I think will be thrown in there as well.
Sure. Yeah, that works. Yeah, and be sure to give us a like on Facebook and share the episode with your friends. Comment and let us know what questions you would have asked Carl. Or let us know what are some of your favorite songs from the Canedy album. It's a really great album that we all love here at the podcast. And if you haven't listened to it, definitely go check it out. It's Canedy, Canedy, Warrior is the name of the album.
Yeah, so once again, thanks you guys for hanging out with us again, and check out our gems and stuff we're listening to, and delve into some Rods. If you guys have not checked out the Rods, check them out. They have a lot of great stuff. Power Trio, their last album, Brotherhood of Metal, came out last year. Absolutely fantastic album. The album was our podcast pick for all of us guys. It's produced fantastic. I think their best album because it's got the Hammond organ accent to some of the songs. Is just so rocking. So, all right, we are going to play Tyrant King from the Rods to play us out this week. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other. And we will see you next time. And there definitely will be a next time.
There's the time